what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Heroes Show. You got Cory and Nick with you here in this video, and we are talking about episode 4 of The Shrink Next Door over on Apple TV Plus. There are going to be spoilers in this episode, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, click pause on this video, go watch it over on Apple TV, then come back and see us. Nick, I had a busy weekend watching a ton of television. How about you?
Yeah, I concur.
My brain is in a tailspin as we currently speak. I have poured myself a Dwayne Johnson Zoa energy drink to get through this murderer's row of recordings that we've got on this fine Sunday evening. So excited to talk about some TV. So
Same.
Before we get started, if you have not subscribed to the channel, as of the time of this recording, we've got 596 subscribers. We'd love to get to 600 in the next few days, maybe 700 by the end of the year. Maybe 1,000 if we're lucky. Who knows? We're trying. See what we can do.
Yeah.
Also, go ahead and like this video preemptively. I have a feeling you're going to like it because we really like this show. It's a lot of fun. So diving right into things. This episode was called The Foundation, which is kind of hilarious considering that Foundation is one of the other shows
we talked about
that we cover in pretty extensive detail. In this episode, Marty cuts Phyllis out of his life, literally and figuratively. We get to meet Hannah, who is a potential love interest for Marty. Marty and Ike start a charity, which is something that Marty does not want to do, but does it anyways because of that charming son of a bitch, Paul Rudd. They spend a lot of money very recklessly, including $25,000 on a Mickey Mantle autographed baseball, which is interesting. Marty has a heart attack. And then
I would too.
And then Ike steals blank checks right from the Foundation. So, as things go, this is just kind of like a snowball. It keeps rolling down the hill and getting bigger and bigger. The manipulation gets more and more deep into Marty's life from Dr. Ike. And I think we're now halfway through the show, so it can only get worse. Nick, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was really good overall. I think in our last video, we talked about how because Apple TV released 3 episodes at once, each episode got better and better. And I feel like episode 4 here has gone with episode 3's pace. It's better, if not equally the same, as far as just how good it was overall, right? There are a lot of interesting moments, some funny, some not so funny, because of what happens between Marty and Ike and just the drama that is ensuing and getting worse and worse. It's so that you were saying this episode is filled with cringe, and I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah. That's this one was a big time, like, tuck your head under the blanket. I think my girlfriend had a hoodie on, and she like pulled the hood completely over her face a couple times when it was when it was happening. The auction scene, man, that was
that whole was it the Den Gala or the Penn Gala? Sorry,
Penn Gala. Yep.
Penn Gala. Yeah, that whole scene was great. But the one thing that was interesting, where what's her wife, Ike's wife's name?
Bonnie.
Bonnie. Yeah, Bonnie says, "I don't like the person you turn into at these events," and that says something when your wife is saying it to you, not like a friend or coworker sort of thing, maybe, but your wife. And not to mention her wife when in the whole birthing scene, he's trying to film on like the old school video camera, right?
So funny.
It was like
over his shoulder.
I thought it was hilarious. Again, like we see like this humorous side within the show, and in the fact he's like, oh my god, it's a boy, and the doctor's like, this would be a girl, and he's like, it's a girl.
Immediately.
Yeah, and then it's like, don't worry, there's another one coming. And I'm thinking maybe it's like the Luke and Leia. There's one girl, one boy. Nope, double girls. And he's obviously not thrilled about it because he wanted his whole legacy to sort of carry on. And, again, I poor Bonnie has to hire someone to take care of, just to share the load because Ike is just seemingly unwilling to do it. Even though he tells Marty in a session that it's wonderful being a father, which I know it is, not personally, just from everyone that I know who is a father. And like he falls asleep in the session. There's all these pictures he's sharing with Marty, and then at the Penn Gala, it's just all these old friends and probably strangers too. But it's what he does. Like from that to the Penn Gala itself, where I think one of my favorite moments is when Marty is telling Hannah about everything, and Hannah is, she's not stupid. She's just kind of
No.
using common sense about putting things together, and you can kind of see her facial expressions
Mhm.
and how it all just doesn't really make sense and just how messed up it all is. And she's like,
Absolutely.
"So he's your psychiatrist? Oh, and best friend and business partner." And she's like, "So how's that all work?" And I'm like, "Exactly. It doesn't. It doesn't work because
Yep.
we've seen how his life is literally unfolding on a daily
Mhm.
basis or an episodic basis for us, but it's so cringe. And yeah, like, I looked up to see how much a signed Mickey Mantle baseball is worth.
Like
And
today?
yeah, today,
Oh, geez.
the highest I saw was about 4 to 5K.
Oh, shit.
So the fact that he spent like, 20, 25K or whatever it was is just absolutely atrocious. And
Yeah,
it is a complete waste of money. Like they were saying if it was signed by, the entire Yankees team at that time,
from the
bec-
60s. Yeah,
yeah, it would have been that much. And granted, like, Babe Ruth baseballs are like egregiously expensive, and
sure.
the six figures easy. But again, that wasn't a Babe Ruth baseball. This was Mickey Mantle.
Right.
And
Hmm.
even though Ike's like, "Oh my God, like Mickey Mantle, who's a Yankees, he's a Yankees player. We gotta get the ball because he's the Yankees and we're from New York and we're Jewish." And it's like, and I feel like Marty was just like, "Oh, okay." Like he's trying to go lower. He's like 10,000. He's like
He tries bargaining.
12,000. Yeah,
You don't bargain at an auction. That's not
yeah,
how it works. You already raised your hand and said 20. You're committed to 20. There was some fun cameos in there too. They had Ed Koch, who was the mayor of New York, who
yep,
eventually went on to host the People's Court on syndicated television, which is a good
yep,
time. There's somebody in there playing Reggie Jackson, who is another very famous Yankees baseball
yes,
player. Hit 3 home runs in a World Series game back in the 70s, which
yep,
is pretty cool that they were in competition on that.
yeah,
But yeah, the part where he's like, "Yeah, man, I love Mickey Mantle." And Marty was like, "Doesn't everybody love Mickey Mantle? He's
yeah,
like the most
exactly.
famous Yankee of that generation." But um, just a lot of fun stuff in there. The whole '80s vibe of it all
Is big, yeah,
was great. Like the fact that they go to a frame store to get frames made. Like in
yeah,
today's day and age, you just go to Michael's or whatever, and like you buy your own frame and you make your own shit, and that's just the
yeah,
way it is. And Paul Rudd's character not really wanting to take care of the kid. One, I think that's partially because it's not a boy, which is kind of messed up if you think about it.
yeah,
And also, back in the '80s, it was still kind of the housewife generation where the husband or the breadwinner in the family didn't do any of the work raising the
right,
kids. They went to work, and the person who stayed home took care of the kids. Which obviously we're living in a very different generation now than back then. So I did think it was hilarious that he ordered a literal shit ton of food because he was thinking that they have a bris that day, and then it
yeah,
wasn't a boy.
yeah.
The
He's
guy
like, "I don't want it."
he rolls a full cart of food into the house, and by the time he's just like on the third or fourth thing that's getting unloaded, he goes, "Just get out of my
Just
house."
get my house. Yeah, just get out. Yeah.
Oh man, good
And
stuff.
another crazy, cringy part too is when they were going to open, the charity together, right? And
Mhm.
Marty throws down 165K,
Oh god.
and then Ike goes 2.5, like, or 2,500, right? And I'm like, what? It's like comparing a rock to a boulder,
Yeah.
a little pebble to a giant stone, right? And it's just, again, just, speaks to how cheap he is, and and
Mhm.
and and how manipulating he is. And I mean, Marty doesn't really, buy into it because of what his perception is. And same thing
Sure.
with, uh and he's kind of gotten some confidence, and I think in some cases been able to change for some of the better. But
He
it's
has. Yeah.
but like cutting out his sister was not good. And obviously, he
Brutal.
was able to ask Hannah out. And uh even when he's willing to pay $1,000 a plate, and says it was him, and then Ike's like, "No, I paid for all this," sort of thing. And
Yeah.
I was almost wondering what was going to happen, between Hannah and Marty. And of course, when Marty gets taken to the hospital, there's flowers there,
Uh-huh.
Ike sees the flowers that came from Hannah
Yep.
and gets jealous.
Hmm. He's
And
threatened immediately.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, dude, like, how low is your self-esteem, man? Like, you're a psychiatrist here.
Yeah.
Like, you should be bolstering self-esteem for people, not, not,
Right.
banking on and dipping on people for it.
And
And
it's not like he's light on relationships. He's a married man. He's got 2 kids at home. He's a
yeah,
doctor, like he's in relatively good standing, but he sees Marty as the goose that laid the golden egg and his road to riches.
does he
And
ever?
he's not going to let anybody get in the way of that. And him going to the frame store and like the way he says it to Hannah, he's like, we both know what needs to happen here. I was just like, man,
Yeah,
this slimy piece of shit, man.
yeah. I'm like that is that like,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if at some point, maybe at some point, we'll find out when Marty finds out what happened.
Yeah, so that's actually one question I had for you. We're halfway done, I think, because this is only an 8 episode season or series or whatever it is. When do you think the big blow up is going to happen, where Marty just catches on to everything and just tells Ike to go fuck himself?
I wouldn't be surprised if it happened in the very end.
Really, not until the end. Okay,
in the eighth episode. I would hope. I hope it happens. Maybe in the sixth or seventh episode.
okay.
Um, and I I wonder how much is going to come crashing down because I know we don't know if there's going to be a second season yet. So maybe that doesn't even happen until the second season.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know
Um,
what this is going to be. If it's just a mini series or if they're going to
right.
make 2-3 seasons out of it. But we know from the first episode that an older version of Marty is essentially the housekeeper at the Hamptons house that
Yep.
older Dr. Ike is living in,
Yep.
and he's out there burying the acrylic cows and everything. So
Destroying shit.
we
Yeah.
got to figure out in the next 4 hours how we get from where we are now to there, which is pretty interesting because you have to imagine that relatively soon the other shoe is going to drop and
Right.
Marty's going to go off the rails, or it's
And
got to be something. The business is going to go under, or the stage is going to catch fire at Jesus Christ Superstar, or
oh man,
something
yeah.
is going to happen that's going to expose Dr. Ike for who he really is in this relationship. And God, I hope it's sooner than later because I don't know if I can take much more time with the manipulation.
Yeah, and as far as we know, so we know his sister Phyllis doesn't like him. We know and can kind of surmise that Hannah doesn't like Ike either.
Mhm.
The staff in this episode has now said that they're not really fond of him being there, and why do we even need him in the first place?
Yep.
And now he's got a super expensive
Fancy
desk.
desk.
He's stealing checks, and of course that
Yeah.
shot of him like looking in like the reflection within like the window,
Beautifully done.
with the glass in the door, and it's so what a great moment in that
Yeah.
episode.
Fantastic.
So I do have the brief synopsis of
Oh
next
yes.
episode pulled up, which is entitled "The Family Tree."
Okay.
And it says, when Dr. Ike experiences a death in the family, Marty invites him to come stay at his house in the Hamptons.
Oh God.
So maybe that's the transition to the Hamptons house that we see in episode 5. So we're flipping on to the second half of the season here. So I wonder if it's maybe, his wife's like, oh my God, I really love this place. And,
Sure. Yeah. She gets bit by the bug too.
yeah. And it's like, baby,
Man.
maybe we can just live here for now. And then the sixth again, like maybe it is the 7th episode as far as maybe Marty kind of flips and understands what's really been
What's going on.
happening. And
Yeah.
and or maybe it just all comes, crumbling down and going into the season finale.
Right.
And again, if there's a second season, then it kind of bleeds into, well, we know that Marty has lost everything and has nothing now, and
Right.
Ike has pretty much everything in his possession aside from what Phyllis was able to steal.
Right.
Rightfully steal, we'll say.
$500,000 worth of jewelry, I think, is what they said, right?
Yeah. So,
well, when I hear that description of the episode, my brain immediately goes to the idea of Dr. Ike using the death in the family as a way to wring even more money out of Marty
Yep.
which I don't want to have happen, but I have a bad feeling it's going to,
Oh God,
based
yeah.
off of what the show has done to us so far. So
The stay, the
man,
funeral costs, everything in between. It's going to be ridiculous.
yeah, I love the just my last thing before we wrap up here. The title card this week was a plate at the Penn Gala, and as the vines grew over it, it got like all dirty and nasty
Yeah,
and whatnot. I think those title cards have been
really
very
cool.
fun, and the
Yeah.
music is perfect that they use for it. It's
Yes.
just got this really ominous kind of undertone to it, which is pretty cool. But
Yep.
what do you score in this one out of 10?
I'd say at least like a solid, like probably 8.5. I'd probably give it about that.
Yeah, I'm in the 8 category on this one. I thought it
Yeah.
was another fantastic episode. I think these guys are
They're
acting
absolutely
the shit
killing it, man.
out of this show.
Yeah.
It's so cool because you get funny moments like when they're running down the street and they're like, "Why are we
Yeah.
running? I don't know." And it's
Yeah.
like old Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell, and then it just like snaps right back into like really dramatic stuff, and it's just it's very good. It's a very
Yep.
satisfying show so far.
Yep.
Cannot wait to see how the next 4 episodes go, and we're going to
Same.
cover every single one of them. So
Same here.
that is going to wrap it up for this video, guys. If you are watching The Shrink Next Door on Apple TV Plus, would love to hear from you. Drop us a comment below. Let us know your thoughts on this episode and on the series as a whole. We'll make sure to respond to everyone that comes through. If you like this video, like the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Help us get towards our goals of 600, 700, 800, 900, and 1,000. And make sure to stay tuned for more videos this week. We will have up on the channel at some point or another.
Yes.
The Foundation finale. This video, we're talking about the Wheel of Time. We're bringing on a book expert to talk about that one, which should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Movie reviews for Finch and The Harder They Fall. And Marvel Wednesdays are coming back. We get the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye on Wednesday. So ton of stuff this week to talk about, and then even more as we get closer to the end of the year. So please stay tuned for all of that and so much more. Until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.